Life After the Rams is proudly sponsored by Seven Restaurant and Cafe Bar, located on Pride Park in Derby. Seven is the leading destination for all-day dining, artisan coffee and handcrafted cocktails, where the community comes together to relax, connect and celebrate.
Life After the Rams with Colin Gibson.
Welcome back to Life After the Rams. This is episode 3. I'm Colin Gibson. Today we're joined by a man whose name is etched in Derby County folklore, Roger Davies, a true legend of the 74-75 winning side, stories from Clough to Mackay and the dressing room that brought silverware. Now, before we get into our chat with Roger, here's a chance to win a £50 voucher to spend in the DCFC Megastore, courtesy of Rams Trust, the Derby County Supporters Trust. Simply answer this question via email to lifeaftertherams@backpassproductions.co.uk. Who did Roger injure on the training ground that Peter Taylor wouldn't let him forget by asking, "Have you apologised yet?" The closing date is midnight Wednesday the 5th of November. The winner will be selected at random from all the correct entries, and good luck. For more information about Rams Trust, head to ramstrust.org.uk.
Life After the Rams with Colin Gibson.
Roger, when I look back at the teams that you played for, and obviously everybody associates you with Derby, even though you did play for other clubs as well. But you played for some serious managers. Clough and Taylor, we'll just park for the moment because we could do a whole programme of those two. Dave Mackay, obviously, who you won the championship under with Derby. Alan Hinton in the States, but Ernst Happel, who signed you for FC Bruges. Tell us about him.
He was a very direct man. He used to walk around the pitch. He never really took coaching. When we go on our training ground, he would walk on the outside. And it's hard for me to talk about him because when it's a pre-match game, he used to tell somebody, he used to speak to them, and they told me what he'd said because his English was not very good.
Because he was Austrian, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was Austrian. I mean, I knew him famously from was that when they won the European Cup, didn't they, again with Celtic in that era. He never said a lot. He was very quiet. He'd walk around. He did have a bit of a temper when he wanted to. But yeah, he's I can honestly say that we never did anything tactically with him. It was training, running, play, and just took it as it was with his players.
How did you end up in Bruges?
I went from Derby. There was a reason why I did it.
Okay.
I can say it's personal. I was married, but I met somebody else, and I said to this other lady, Elizabeth, most people know now that I have a chance to go to Belgium and we can just get away from everything. And we went. Off we went and played. And I've got to admit, he was one of along with Derby, it was one of my best moves I ever made. The lads there were a mixture, so there was a mixture of languages. Great to play for. Football was good. And it's nice playing for a team that is the best in the division there.
Because that's what they were. They won the championship 3 years in a row, didn't they?
Well, my first year we won the cup. We won the double. We won the league and then we won the cup. And it was a good side to play for. There was a lot of Scandinavian guys. It was enjoyable as well. The fans were good. And I was surprised, really. I'd been to Belgium before, but I was only with the Sunday League side, go and play a couple of them. But to go back and go and play with them, it was really a good time of my career.
Bruges is a lovely place, isn't it?
It's fabulous. I wasn't aware what it was like that much, but went back to it, and it was brilliant. Really, really enjoyed my time there. Except in the end, where I was stupid, actually. I wanted to come home. I know there was clubs after me, and I was being a right idiot in training, or balls coming to me, and I'd just kick them away about as far as I could. And he eventually picked up that it wasn't right, and he he stopped playing me, and then he'd bring me in again. He stopped playing me. But the big one he didn't play me in the European Cup final against Liverpool, wasn't it? Yeah, I missed out on that because of my stupidity, not because of his. It was my own fault for the way I'd reacted that I didn't play.
Because you scored in the earlier rounds of the European Cup, hadn't you?
Yeah, we did really well. It was, it's like I'd already played in the Europe stuff with Derby, thinking that Derby probably were a better team than Bruges, but we got through, and it was. I went to the game. Glad you got some tickets to the lads there, and I'm sitting there thinking. I was sitting there thinking, what have I done? A chance to play at Wembley as well in a European Cup final, and because of being an idiot, I didn't get my chance.
Was that the biggest mistake you made?
By far. Why do you think who you are? And just because they wouldn't let me go when I wanted to, and I was being mardy as you can be, and I paid the price.
Were you missing home?
Not that much now, because the lads there were great, honestly. The team, I was having a bad time with Apple, so that may have drove me to go home, because I was getting rumours that teams were after me, and the team that I did eventually go to was Leicester, and that was near to where I'm from Derby, and it was a chance, and I grabbed it with both hands.
In that championship year with Bruges, you scored a bag full of goals, didn't you?
Don't sound surprised.
I didn't sound surprised, because it came off the back of scoring the goals for Derby.
It was a great year for me, that first one. As you say, I scored lots of goals. I remember there was one or two in the cup final against Anderlecht. I think every cup final was Derby, Bruges and Anderlecht. And as you know, it's not something I'm proud of. I got Belgian Player of the Year. And to say there's only a few people like Cruyff and then no competition really. But yeah, I had a great time there, and part of my career. And going back to Leicester, I thought it was just going to be another one. And for some reason, it didn't work. I don't know why. And to this day, I still keep thinking, why didn't it work for me at Leicester?
Yeah, because I've talked to you in the past in our radio days, and you almost... No, Colin, I'm not going to talk to you about my days at Filbert Street, because it, as you say, clearly it just didn't work.
Well, it's strange, you know. There's two things at either side of that you know that you've got. I went to America after. I just got Player of the Year in Belgium. I had a nightmare at Leicester. I think I got Player of the Year in the NSL. So what went wrong in the middle there? Frank McClintock was manager at the time. It was Frank who brought me in. I think it was about 135. No, not pound, 1,000. And you know, there's something on you, but it just didn't work. I don't know why it wasn't going for me. And the more you get on, the worse you get.
Who was in the Leicester team at the time?
Billy Hughes came, didn't he? George Armstrong, Bruge. Gary Lineker came in after, ex-Garbidoli.
Mark Wellington.
Yeah.
So they were first division.
Oh yeah, there was some. Dennis Rofe was left back and captain. The side. I can't know the side. The side was good players. It just, for me, it didn't. You have that spells, how people do, where everything I did seemed to go wrong. I felt a bit sorry for Frank. He'd spent the money and brought me in. To this day, I still don't know why it didn't work for me. But I suppose I'm not the only player who's ever had that experience. Late
70s was the start of football, soccer, as they call it in the States. In the, as you mentioned, the NASL, there was also the ASL that was underneath it. And in the late 70s, it was about getting the big names to go and play for these clubs. That must have been some adventure.
Oh, it was absolutely brilliant to be going there that early. And as you know, Alan Hinton was the manager. I mean, the first place I went to was with Alan was Tulsa Roughnecks. There's myself and David Nish from that side, Alan Woodward, and it was good. Tulsa wasn't the best of sides, but then I moved and I was from Tulsa. That's when I came back to Leicester. And Leicester, I think it was back to Alan had moved while I was there playing. Alan had moved from Tulsa to Seattle, and that's where I moved back to. Went back to Seattle, and that was one of the best times of my life, playing in Seattle. Great place, lovely place, fantastic arena, a team that is competing with everybody in the league. And nobody liked playing us. As you say, you mentioned the players out there. And Bruce Rioch came out, same myself, David Nish. And the one, whatever season I did, I had one great supplier, and that was the left winger from Coventry.
Hutchinson? Tommy Hutchinson.
He made so many goals.
He was one of the few players who could give Ronnie Webster a hard time.
He was, wasn't he? He was known for that. And he got so many balls into the box or more through. He was found. Also, then there's Alan Hudson, Steve Daly, Kenny Hibbett. So it was a great team to play in.
How did you take to American life?
Fantastic. Honestly, it was fantastic.
I mean, what sort of age would you have been?
27,
right.
26, something like that. The people are so nice. Honest, I've still got good friends now I speak to who ring me up at home, speak to, and I had so many friends out there. I ended up, was in an apartment, then I went into a flat. I bought a house. Obviously, I sold it when I went, but I bought a house, friends doing stuff for me. It was just Seattle is really, without anybody, it's a great place to go. And the thing about it is, there's lots of English people there because of Boeing. And there's lots of Rolls-Royce people out there and obviously coming to the games. The arena was fantastic. Plus you've also got the baseball and you've got the American football that goes with it. But yeah, I think the American people probably were still understanding football because of what they got. But did they make some noise? In the Kingdom, that was the name of the stadium, they made some noise. And I think it all goes with success. And Alan did a great job. He really did. He built a side that could hold its own in that league. And there's lots of players, as you say, top players have come now, playing in LA, as they would do, and New York. They've all gone to the big clubs. We kept on going.
So Alan Hinton obviously was your teammate at Derby. What was he like as a manager? Because as a player, he was just this guy with this fabulous left foot, wearing a pair of white football boots.
He was good. He very rarely lost it. At times we'd be called into the dressing room as all together, and Alan would be going to give us a talk or whatever. And also was there, this is when he was in Tulsa in his first lot, Sammy Chapman, who was at Forest. And Sammy and I would be sitting quite close. And Alan would start talking, and Sammy and I would start laughing doing all that. And it drove him absolutely mad. What's the matter with you two now? What are you laughing at? Like two children. And the more he shouted at you, the more we laughed. His best job was in Seattle. He did a great job. He built a good side, and he was very successful. I mean, obviously, he came over the 74-75 celebration. He's gone back, and he's still in Seattle now. That's how he's been there a long, long time.
And again, the goals came for you. If I've got this right, 25 goals in 29 games. That's not a bad strike record. Was
it? It was good. My supply was fantastic. Honestly, the supply of the wingers, I would say Tommy just got balls into the box. And the thing, there was still the time there where you had to have 3 American people on the pitch at all times. You had to have them on. So we were playing with that, and we had a young lad playing up front with me. But Alan Hudson was great. Steve Daly, Kenny Hibbett, what a good midfield that was. And Bruce. Bruce is good wherever he goes. I mean, for me, I think he's one of the best players I've ever played with, Bruce Rioch. And I think he was the massive piece of the jigsaw in 74-75. How he controlled things and did things. But yeah, and it was great. It was like, you're not in your own countries, you go out and you expect to, you can imagine going out there and having a failure, but going there and things going well for you. And I really, really enjoyed the time there.
Well, in 1980, you're in the NSL All-Star team, and yeah, Bruce Rioch's in there. Okay, fair enough. So is Carlos Alberto, well-known Brazilian, somebody called Franz Beckenbauer, and Johan Cruyff, and Roger Davies. That's some company to be in.
Only if they're talking about that. I was pleased to be in his team.
Yeah.
I mean, that is when he was starting to take off.
Yeah.
and there was players coming from everywhere. And as you say, that's just the beginning of it. Loads and loads of names out there. And it was just I think for some people, just going out playing against those people was spectacular. And they brought them in, and it launched the league, and now it's probably still the same. There's lots of stars out there, and the game is still going well. And I'd like to think that my career was made up of being in great places, the right places at the right time.
MVP, which is the most valuable player, Roger Davies.
Two pence it was. Yeah, the most MVP, that's what they call it.
Could you have settled out? I mean, Alan has done. He moved out to America because of personal tragedy in his life, and he admits that he was just getting away from England and the horrible memories that had gone with it, with the death of his young son. Yeah. Could you have stayed out there? Could you have settled?
I had a lot of friends out there, a lot of English friends who were living out there. I say we'd got a house. No, it wasn't. I wanted to come back home. We just my son is born there. My eldest son. He did have an American passport when he was born out there. I think we wanted to go back home, which we did. And then I played. I didn't go to work. I think that's when I started. I did play, as Phil was saying, at Gresley Rovers and Stapen Hill and play at teams down there. And I went to work.
Yeah, we'll come on to that obviously in a little while. Phil G was our first guest on Life After the Rams, and he mentioned you and the part you played in getting him to Derby. Yeah,
he came in and he really did well, Phil. He was quick. He was just the same as he was when he played. He's quick, left footed mainly, and what we're afraid about Phil, he's a nice guy. And he was a young lad then, but he's a nice guy. And he did, and it was probably me knowing what he was going through, because I'd come from Worcester. And when I can remember when I first got there to Derby, and I've come from Worcester. I remember everybody was the same, but you walk around in awe. Everybody, you see somebody, in the dressing room, and you're like, oh, you've only seen him on telly, honestly, probably before. And whether Phil experienced that, I don't know. But he did very well. In his team with Dino, they were very successful. Now he's back to working with us in match days, which is great to have him on board.
Yeah, he says it's amazing how he went from being a Villa fan to eventually the Derby through and through. All right, well, we've mentioned Alan Hinton, we've mentioned Ernst Happel. So there was a double act that were really influential in your football career and your football development, Clough and Taylor. Now, we could talk for the rest of the podcast about these two, but just try and sum up what they did for you individually and then the two of them together.
Yeah, it's so, I'm not saying difficult to talk about what they do, because they both had the jobs, the roles they played. As a pair, they were great, but Pete was, pre-kick-off game, he was going. So I'll get firstly, I went into reserves and playing. It was amazing. You come and you have a successful year in the first year there. The first team won their division, and we won the Central League, whatever, as reserves. Barry Butlin, Jeff Bourne, all those players came in. And then I played in the Texaco Cup game against Airdrie, I think it was, and that was my first start. And he was always good to me, Brian, I must admit. I can't knock him one, well, nobody can actually. He was really good to me. He went all about his coaching with him when he got players. He brought them in because he knew what they could do. He wasn't going to change what he expected from them. Do your job. That was his statement. Do your job. And if you think about it, it's quite sensible. That's why I brought you in. You keep doing that, and we're going to be successful. And that's what he kept saying. That's why I said the modern game is all they're talking about coaching. You don't change everything that's going on. Those players will see you through. And he was good. I mean, you don't realise things that we did with him. We'd have some games. You talk about managing. We had some games, quite a few games, where we'd come in, we'd play on the Saturday. we'd come back, we may have won, normally would be at home, back in the dressing room, and then Brian would say, okay, see you tomorrow, 9:30, at the ground, we're off to Mallorca. And just like that, you're thinking, how did you do that? And we did that quite a lot. He took us away, and he was just so good. On the other hand, sometimes Pete would be walking around the dressing room pre-game. He'd walk around, we all had our own changing spots, hanging up where you stuff was, and Pete would walk around. And I remember once he was walking past, he turned and looked back at me, and he went, Brian, I'm sure about him today, Brian. Do you think he looks all right, Brian? I don't think he's ready to go, Brian. What do you think, Brian? And I'm sitting there going, who's he talking about? I mean, they were amazing in the dressing room, the two of them, things they could do that you would call, for me, is management. And I think in any industry, if you manage the people right, they will do it for you. And that was when me being a manager at Rolls-Royce, I took everything Brian on board that Brian had done and just looked after my people, and they looked after me.
He was a genius, wasn't he?
I mean, he's got to. I mean, what he did at Derby was great, but I hate to mention it. What he did down the road was incredible. But we were close as well, weren't we? We just didn't get there first. I mean, wherever he went, he turned Derby County round. That was him before I was there. And he goes to there, and I think his only real one was, I think anyone went to Leeds to spite them. I mean, that was the most incredible undertaking of Brian Clough going to Leeds. I think we all couldn't believe it. But yeah.
Only he could get away with going out onto that training pitch and saying, all those pots and pans and medals, you can chuck them in a bin because you won them by cheating.
I mean, that is incredible, isn't it? I mean, how he did that, I don't know.
And let's be right, despite all the way that they played, Leeds were a good team.
Oh, they were. I think a lot of the stuff that goes with it was jealousy. They were a good side, don't worry about it. They were very good. All over the pitch, there wasn't many weaknesses. And but as I said, we know the Derby Leeds thing was hard. But both teams adapted to it, and it was. Both teams gave as good as they got.
They certainly did. You were involved more, obviously, in the second championship in 74-75, but your opportunities came before then. And whenever I think of you as a Derby player, I think of you as a goal scorer and scoring feats of goals or cracking goals. So the hat-trick at Tottenham in a cup tie that's going away from you at White Hart Lane, and suddenly it turns around, you get this hat-trick and Derby are into the next round of the FA Cup, into the championship season, obviously 5 goals in one game. Erling Haaland's trying to sort of outdo you on that. He's done it a few times now with 5 goals, but 5 goals in one game is remarkable. And then we've just mentioned Derby and Leeds and the infamous game, which is 50 years ago, Rog. Franny and Norman getting at it, they both get dismissed. And on comes Roger Davies and absolutely pings one top corner.
Goal of the month, wasn't it?
What a goal.
Left foot as well. I don't know anything about it. And it just came, and I think, well, it was meant to the curl on it because it went in the top corner, and I was so pleased about it. It was just a thing every time you went out and played Leeds. There was this. You wonder why Derby and Leeds are miles apart. Why do we have this thing about us?
I think it was the Clough for everything.
The Clough for everything. Yeah. So the Tottenham game. The 5 goals against Luton, I thought was 2 disallowed as well.
Somebody said to me, actually, you should have had 7.
Yeah, was fantastic. At the second or third from the end of the season. But the one I did like most was the Tottenham. I scored on the Saturday in the 1-1 draw, and we went away, and we were 3-1 down when we were 15 to go. And I think it's just a marker of just keep going, and I got the hat trick. And Roy keeps saying, about there's the volley one, the header. Roy, I blocked the goalie out for you. He always lets me know. I blocked the goalie out for you when he did that. And that was great. And then one of Clough, actually, do not talk to the press. I don't want you talking to the press about the game. That's fine. And I had a phone call at home from I forgot which paper it was, might have been the Mirror. They said they were, and we've had clearance from Mr. Clough to talk to you. Me being taking it in. Yes, so I did the interview and everything. God, when I got in next morning, come down the office. I had to go into the office. What's this? Well, he told me it was okay, you cleared it. And he just fined. I got fined for that.
So a hat trick and a fine to go with it.
Fine to go with it. Yeah, that was me thinking that they cleared everything with the boss. No, they hadn't.
Never believe a journalist, Roger.
That's true.
The volley goal against Tottenham, you sort of almost brushed it aside, but the control to start off with, I can picture it now.
John O'Hare knocked it in, didn't he? And I was just rolling. I thought, well, I clicked it up, rolled across, I clicked it up, and volleyed it. And you say, I think that made it. I think that goal, that game was one of the most exciting things. But yeah, I've seen it. I've seen it a few times, and that was one of my best goals of my career. I think of John O'Hare, who had come on. I think come on a sub. He knocked it across, and I flicked it up and volleyed it, and he went.
It was a beaut.
Yeah, and it was just a great game to win in the end. You know, when players experience. Not me, I mean the whole team experienced that 3-1 down with 5 to go or whatever it was, and we turned it around for a 5-3 win. It was absolutely fabulous.
As we know, Clough and Taylor go, and in comes a new manager, a guy who'd been very much a part of, along with Brian and Peter, turning Derby around, but on the field, Dave Mackay alongside a young Roy McFarland. He goes off. He's the only guy that Sam Longston thinks can come in and sort out the, I suppose, understandable disquiet in the players that Brian and Peter have gone. And 18 months later, you're league champions for a second time. Twice in 3 years, Derby are Football League champions. You were more involved in the second side. Which was the better team? There's a loaded question. Or were they different?
I think there was a lot more, probably stronger players in the 74-75 team, maybe in the 71-72. But both were successful and winning. So it's hard to say, for me to say. Obviously, I think ours was the best. But going back to the other lads, the other one was like built from Brian Clough had come in and built. You know, he brought his lads from with him. John O'Hare, he bought those in, he bought Roy. I mean, he built the team for that one. That was what was brilliant about it. A big percentage of that team was still there, playing in the 74-75. He did make some big signings with, you know, for me, I think the biggest signing in the 74 side, well, it's probably two, was Bruce Rioch. Bruce Rioch was tremendous that season, absolutely tremendous. And Franny had a really good season. And I must admit, Rod Thomas came in. Is that Rod?
Yeah, I think he was his first signing.
They brought Rod in, yeah. And the thing about it was the team was all knitted together. Everybody was enjoying the football, and I suppose you can do that. But I think we went out with so much confidence. Every time we went out on the baseball, we was full of confidence, of thinking nobody's going to beat us, and things went really well for us that season. It was enjoyable to play in the games. The first one, I was there. That's when I'd arrived in 71, playing in the reserves with quite a few players who went on to play higher. And as I said, it was just like walking around the dressing room scene, bumping into Terry Hennessy or Roy McFarland or whoever. I'd only seen them on Sunday dinner time.
Star Soccer,
yeah.
Yeah, with the huge arms.
Yeah, that was it. And Roy, obviously, is still a big part of Derby County. You know, we go away, when we go together, we go away, and we have a lot of fun. when we do lots of Q&As and stuff, we have myself, Roy and Toddy, and Roy slaughters me.
We've noticed.
And it's fun. I mean, he's a really nice guy, and just those two together, probably, for me, I think they should have played together more for England. I think it was just Bobby Moore seemed to be picking him and hanging him on in there. The two of them together are definitely the best partnership in the Football League.
This is Life After the Rams. I'm Colin Gibson in conversation with a true legend from the 70s, Roger Davies. Life After the Rams is proudly sponsored by Seven Restaurant and Cafe Bar, located on Derby's Pride Park. Seven is the leading destination for all-day dining, artisan coffee and handcrafted cocktails. With a focus on quality, seasonal ingredients and a welcoming atmosphere, Seven is where the community comes together to relax, connect and celebrate.
Life After the Rams with Colin Gibson.
So for the 74-75 side, Dave brought in Bruce Rioch, but he also signed Franny Lee. What a character. And bizarrely in a way, Franny Lee and Rod Thomas, who was already there, they formed quite a combination, didn't they?
He was unbelievable. He was so funny. He's so funny in his voice. And, I mean, I didn't, you'd think when you saw him, you wouldn't think he was a footballer or whatever. He was a nice guy, really nice guy, and he did a good job for us. He was just lit up the dressing room. He was such a funny, he had a laugh that was unbelievable, so loud. I feel so sorry for him now that he's the state he's in. I've seen him a few times, and it's not the Rod Thomas who we knew. He's in such a bad way now, and I feel so sorry for him.
And Franny Lee?
When you talk about the team itself, when you say about people and squads in that era have lost lots and lots of players, we're very fortunate we've hardly lost anybody, and Franny is one of those to go. Franny was like coming from Man City, where there's a club that was a big club, and he's chosen to come to Derby County, and he did make a difference. The way he played, he was him and Rod were partners.
That's an unlikely
it is, isn't it? They roomed together, everyone. They were room partners. Those two were together. They were hilarious. Franny was funny, but he could get angry, as we know.
Well, we certainly saw that on the football field. The following season, you should have won the double. You should have won the league and the cup. In this time as well, you're starting, and I don't know whether this tag annoys you or not, that you were starting to be known as a bit of a super sub coming off the bench.
I often think about that. I can't figure out how it started. I think it might be when Charlie came. I was so disappointed that when we played in the Cup at Wembley, the league championship, the week before, I'd done my hamstring or something at Celtic in pre-season, so I couldn't play. Because I do think I would have played if not, and Charlie played instead. And then Charlie, you can't knock Charlie, he had a great time when he came, he was doing really well. So I missed out on that, and I still remember that when it was over, the game, Charlie came over and gave me his medal for the game. And when I'm in Charlie's presence and I'm saying people, well, even in the Charity Shield, Charlie, after the game, gave me his medal. And he said, yeah, but I went and got another one straight away. He rings me up quite a bit. We speak a lot. He's a funny lad, Charlie is. And I think that's got to be one of his better seasons ever when he came into Derby. There was no stopping him. He was out of his head. He played absolutely brilliant. And he was another additive to the side. But I think the stuff, we spoke about earlier about Dave Mackay coming in. I didn't know Dave at all, because he'd gone when I got there. And Dave and Des came in, and there was a bit, you could tell the dressing room wasn't right. And things were happening, and words were going around, and stuff with the paper where we were saying we're going to strike. And I think we were being used, not saying who by, but we were being worked. And things that we were doing at times, when we look back at it, it wasn't right. And Dave came in, and I remember coming in the dressing room, first time I'd seen him, he came in to have words with us all called in, and he said, "Okay, any of you don't want to be here, go. You can go, I'll let you go." And obviously nobody was brave enough to go up and go. Maybe him and Des together were brilliant. And for them, they were successful in a league championship.
Yeah, 74, 75. As you mentioned, 75, 76, there was some real thought that Derby could win the league and the FA Cup. And I talk about you sort of getting this super sub, and I talk about you, I remember goals that you scored. And Derby played Everton in that cup run in 76, and Liverpool, and who came off the bench and scored the winning goal against a really good Liverpool side?
Was it me?
I think it was.
I did get this name of super sub, didn't I? Because every time I came on, I seemed to be scoring, and you were known at Liverpool. Every time I went on, I seemed to score against Liverpool, and it went. And I think that's all part of those of being a team. And I would love to have started, but Charlie was coming in and couldn't stop what he was doing. Kevin's never going to go out, so we had a forward line there that was doing a job. But when it was needed, he went on. I mean, the big disappointment you say there is about the FA Cup, that with Jack Taylor when David Nish took the ball over his head.
Just before we get into the game, I'm going to take you then, because it's, as a Derby fan, it's one of the worst days ever supporting my beloved Rams. Go up to Hillsborough. This is the first time I've been to an FA Cup. Actually, no, I'd been to an FA Cup semi-final at Hillsborough 3 years previously. I'd been to see Sunderland against Arsenal. Just managed to get tickets, but that's an irrelevance. But here's Derby against an up-and-coming Manchester United team who you'd beaten not many weeks before. And the balloons go up and the ticker tape goes up, and we all expect it's going to be Derby against Palace or Southampton in the final. And nobody turned up. No. What happened? Did you sense anything as you walked out at Hillsborough?
Yeah, it was you're right, Colin. I don't know why. To this day, I don't know why I'm wrong. I think we were too blasé with it, going out there thinking we'll beat these, and the young, as you say, a young side, young Gordon Hill who scored a goal. We didn't perform on the day, and we let the fans down, because we were a better side than them.
Much better.
We could beat them, no problem. And it was disappointing that Jack Taylor disallowed David's goal. I mean, we never know if that had gone on, because he went through over his head, played him on, went through and scored, and disallowed it. I hate VAR, but I wish for it then. I say it was disappointing. I think we were all disappointed that it didn't work out for us. That's football, isn't it? Did we think it was going to be too easy? I don't know how it went, but it was disappointing for all the fans that had turned up at Hillsborough on that day, because the noise they were making was incredible. And I can't get away from Derby fans. They are incredible. Week in, week out, no matter where we are, what division we're in, where we're playing, they turn up. And they are tremendous. The noise they make are brilliant. And we're regular. We rarely get less than 30,000, do we? And then they come in week after week after week.
I know you have this thing about modern day football and footballers looking as if they've been crippled and they're rolling over and this, that and the other, and then they have a quick glance and up they get and they're off and away they go. And again, it's another of these experiences of something I'd never seen before in football. But at the baseball ground in March, April 1973, we are in a European Cup semi-final against a team who, however many years it's on, I still despise almost as much as Forest and almost as much as Leeds. But Juventus showed me a side of football I never, ever wanted to see again. And I was sitting, what was I? 17, 16, I was 17, and I was seething, because I just couldn't believe what was happening in front of me. I'd never seen shirt pulling and spitting, but you were out on the field.
Yeah, they every time I talk to people say, do you remember that, and they all talk about what was going on in the game, and it was horrendous. I think that our referees couldn't see what was happening. It's the same with the shirt pulling. It was time after time they're pulling your shirt and knocking. The whole thing about them was crooked. And as you say, myself and Francesco Marini, I'll never forget his name, came together. And what we did, we stood there and we both put heads together. But he was cleverer than me. He dived on the floor. And I'm like, what's happened to him? I haven't done anything. We've put heads together. And he dived on the floor. And next minute, I'm getting sent off. And I was like, and the thing is, that's saying the thing I did was bad, but I didn't actually do anything. So that didn't go down well in the dressing room. I missed the away game, obviously. I did go, but missed the away game. I played against Francesco Marini in America. As we just kicked off again, and I went up to him and so I said, I've not forgot you, you know. So I got the honour of saying that to him. But I think people don't realise that playing in Europe is this fabulous thing to do as a footballer. You know, the teams that get the chance to do it, there's not many teams that actually get the options of playing in Europe. And some of our games, you know, is it dead and buried? No, we'll turn it around at our place, or we go over there and get some good results. We managed to do that, and we were so close to get into the final. I mean, they played, is it Liverpool? Was it the final?
They played Ajax in the final and lost 1-0. No more than they deserved.
Yeah, I think we went to, you know, some of the trips we did on that was like some of the places we went. Football was physical. I mean, it really was. People let you know they were there, but you got through it. And I think I feel blessed that I have done that and played in that stage of football. I would love Derby to be back up there and playing in Europe, and that's what we say. I mean, you can't just say Cardiff from Swansea, but I'd love to see them back in Europe and maybe back in the Premier League is we've got to get to.
Let's finish by Premier League players these days won't have to do a real job, I'm sure, when they finish playing, because they'll have millions in the bank. But when you finished playing, you had to get a real job.
Yep.
And how long did you work at Rolls-Royce for?
26 years. Well, now, I always say that to people when I meet them and they say, oh, you might remember I used to work at Rolls-Royce. You mean you attended? You attended Rolls-Royce. I went in, I just finished my apprenticeship at a place in Wolverhampton about a month before Derby came in. So I'd qualified through that. So I got my apprenticeship and through, and I'd been to college and got my City and Guilds. So I went into football. So when I'd finished, I'd got that, and I went for the interview at Derby, and I got the job. It's as 3 shifts, working in the machine, go and do it. So you can imagine when I first went into Rolls-Royce, everybody in the shift I was working on would like to talk or have a word or whatever. And it was great. I loved it. I was just going on machines and doing your job, and the place inside was good. And so I moved up and went on some training courses, whatever, management courses, which I went through there. And I became a manager of probably the shifts I was working on, the groups of people who... And I took the Clough approach, I know I did with them, that I used to say to them, think about, do your work, do your job, quicker you get it done, the better. But don't get caught standing around talking. Because I used to do that, and now and again you'd move, I mean, I was on a machine, you'd be talking to somebody, and you see that one of the bosses come in, you'd move and get away. And the shifts and the people I had on my shift, because we had 3 people who were managing 3 shifts, so you had your own group of people. They were brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Laughed. We used to have a tournament at Rolls-Royce called the Claude Johnson, which had been there for years, footballing. And wherever you worked in, they had a team. you had a team and put that out to play in the Claude Johnson. And I say it was, and luckily, just as we're coming back, I think I played in one and what we got. I'm also getting players in for that. So we're doing a recruitment drive for machinists, people in the shop. Well, we had a team and a half, I tell you. These lads who came in, I knew them from football on Saturday afternoon or whatever. We had a tremendous side. We won it 4 years running. And all these lads, the Claude Johnson, it was, I don't think it was fair actually what I did, but all these people, we really had a really good side. It would held its own on a Saturday morning or a Saturday afternoon game or Sunday morning game of football. They were really good players. And 4 years running, we won the Claude Johnson. It's not there anymore. They've taken it away for some reason. But I really enjoyed it. Rolls Royce. It was great. The people in there were good. It was still a joking place. You could have fun, and everything was about just doing your job. And as I say, going back to Clough, do your job. And once you've done it, I mean, you'd have so many. If you're an 8-hour shift, and you'd have this machine that would do so many different things an hour. So it could take you. You could probably, if you worked it right, you could keep loading it and going fast with it. And so out of 8 hours, you could probably finish after 4. You could get your job done in 4 hours. But then you would have all that 4 hours to yourself to kind of have a chat, doing all that. But you would still have done the allotted amount that was done. And if you were clever, you'd just do a few more over the top, could make it even look better. Because it was, it was 8 hours job, but you could probably do the whole work in 4 or 5. And but I loved it, honestly. The people in there were good. It was fun, and I found it a great place to attend.
Good word. Roger, it's been fab talking to you.
Thanks, Colin. Thank you very much.
Now, don't forget, a chance to win a £50 voucher to spend in the DCFC Megastore, courtesy of Rams Trust, the Derby County Supporters Trust. All you've got to do is answer this question via email to lifeaftertherams@backpassproductions.co.uk. And the question, who did Roger injure on the training ground that assistant manager Peter Taylor wouldn't let him forget about by asking, have you apologised yet? The closing date is midnight Wednesday, November the 5th. The winner will be drawn out at random from all the correct entries. Good luck with that one. Now, our next episode, Sean Barker, that horrendous injury playing for Derby, how he dealt with that, and his other parts of football that, of course, have taken him on to Burton Albion, and how actually he just wanted to be an artist or a rock star. Lots of great stories from Barks. That's out on Thursday, November the 6th. And if you missed our conversations with Phil G or Eric Steele, they're available wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks to Rams Trust for donating our prize, and thanks to 7 Restaurant and Cafe Bar in Derby for supporting us. Located on Derby's Pride Park, 7 is the leading destination for all-day dining, artisan coffee and handcrafted cocktails. With a focus on quality, seasonal ingredients and a welcoming atmosphere, 7 is where the community comes together to relax, connect and celebrate.
Life After the Rams is a Backpass production.